When I caught my husband cheating on me with my best friend, he tried to accuse me of being faithful, which was wrong. So I showed him what I could do. I, 32F, have been married to my husband Jake, 34M, for 8 years. We met during our sophomore year of college at a mutual friends party. I remember being immediately drawn to Jake's charismatic personality and infectious laugh. He was studying law, and I was pursuing a degree in marketing. We hit it off instantly, bonding over our shared love for classic movies and hiking. Our relationship progressed quickly. Jake was attentive, romantic, and seemed to genuinely care about my goals and aspirations. We'd spend hours talking about our future, dreaming about the life we'd build together. After graduation, Jake proposed during a weekend getaway to the mountains where we had our first hiking date. It was perfect, and I said yes without hesitation. We got married a year later in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by family and friends. My best friend Sarah, 31F, was my maid of honor. Sarah and I have been inseparable since high school. We met on the first day of freshman year when we were assigned as lab partners in biology class. From that day on, we were practically joined at the hip. We helped each other through our first crushes, heartbreaks, family drama, and every major life event. Having her stand beside me on my wedding day felt right. After the wedding, Jake and I settled into married life. We both focused on our careers. I climbed the corporate ladder in a marketing firm while Jake worked long hours at a prestigious law firm. Our schedules were hectic, but we made an effort to keep our relationship strong. We had regular date nights, weekend getaways, and were even starting to talk about having children. Sarah remained a constant presence in our lives. She was over at our house so often that Jake jokingly called her our second wife. I was grateful to have such a supportive friend, especially when Jake's work started demanding more of his time. About 6 months ago, I began noticing subtle changes in Jake's behavior. He became more protective of his phone, often taking calls in another room or texting late into the night. When I asked about it, he'd brush it off as work-related stress. I wanted to believe him, but a nagging feeling in my gut told me something was off. Around the same time, Sarah was going through a rough patch. She had just ended a long-term relationship and was struggling to find a new job in her field. I tried to be there for her as much as possible, inviting her over for dinners and girls' nights when Jake was working late. Last month, I had to go on a week-long business trip to New York. It was a big opportunity for my career, a chance to land a major client for our firm. Jake was supportive, telling me to go and knock their socks off. I felt guilty about leaving him alone for a week, but he assured me he'd be fine. The trip went well, and I managed to wrap things up a day early. I decided to surprise Jake by coming home unannounced. I imagined his face lighting up when he saw me, maybe even planning an impromptu date night to celebrate my successful trip. When I entered our house, I immediately sensed something was wrong. There were 2 wine glasses on the coffee table, and I could hear muffled voices coming from upstairs. My heart racing, I slowly made my way up to our bedroom. The door was slightly ajar, and what I saw through that crack shattered my world. Jake and Sarah were in our bed together, clearly in the middle of an intimate moment. I stood there frozen, unable to process what I was seeing. The 2 people I trusted most in the world betraying me in the worst possible way. I must have made a sound because suddenly they both looked up and saw me. The look of shock and guilt on their faces is something I'll never forget. I turned and ran out of the house, ignoring their calls behind me. I drove aimlessly for hours, my mind replaying what I had seen over and over again. How could they do this to me? How long had this been going on? Was our entire relationship a lie? When I finally returned home, Jake was waiting for me. He tried to explain, saying it was a mistake and that it had only happened once. But I could see the lie in his eyes. After some pushing, he admitted that he and Sarah had been having an affair for months. I was devastated. Every memory I had with Jake and Sarah was now tainted. All those times Sarah had comforted me when I was feeling neglected by Jake, all the while she was the reason for his distance. The betrayal cut deep, leaving me feeling hollow and lost. I told Jake I wanted a divorce. He begged me to reconsider, promising to end things with Sarah and suggesting we try couples counseling. But I knew in my heart that I could never trust him again. The foundation of our marriage had been irreparably damaged. Before I could take any concrete steps towards divorce, Jake blindsided me. He accused me of being unfaithful, claiming he had evidence of me cheating with a coworker. It was completely false, but Jake was convincing in his accusations. He told me he couldn't trust me anymore and that he wanted me out of the house. I was shocked and confused. I had never been anything but faithful to Jake. It slowly dawned on me that this was his way of trying to control the narrative. As a lawyer, he knew that infidelity could impact divorce proceedings. He was trying to paint me as the unfaithful one to protect himself. I'm currently staying with my younger sister, trying to figure out my next steps. I know I need to file for divorce, but I'm scared. Jake is a skilled lawyer with connections in the legal world. I'm worried he'll use his knowledge and resources to manipulate the situation in his favor. I've started gathering evidence of Jake's infidelity, text messages I found on our shared iPad, credit card statements showing hotel stays on nights he claimed to be working late, anything I can use to prove his affair. I'm determined to fight for what's rightfully mine. The past few weeks have been a roller coaster of emotions. One moment I'm angry, wanting to fight back against Jake's lies. The next, I'm overwhelmed with sadness, mourning the loss of the life I thought I had. I've lost my husband and my best friend in one fell swoop, and I'm struggling to make sense of it all. I feel like my entire life has been a lie. The man I thought I'd grow old with and the friend I believed would always have my back have both betrayed me in the worst way possible. I'm questioning every memory, every moment of happiness, wondering if it was all just a facade. Part of me wonders if I'm overreacting. Maybe I should try to forgive Jake and work things out. But then I remember the look on his face when I caught him, the ease with which he lied to me afterward, and I know I can never trust him again. I'm scared of starting over at 32. Jake and I had our whole future planned out. The house we'd buy, the kids we'd have, the places we'd travel. Now all of that is gone and I'm left trying to reimagine my life without him. The loneliness is the hardest part. I've lost the two people I would normally turn to in a crisis. I find myself reaching for my phone to call Sarah when something happens, only to remember that she's no longer my friend. It's like grieving two losses at once. I know logically that I deserve better than a cheating husband and a backstabbing best friend, but emotionally I'm a mess. I'm second-guessing every decision, wondering if I'm doing the right thing by pursuing a divorce. Am I the asshole for wanting to file for divorce and fight for what's mine? Should I try to forgive Jake and work it out? I don't think I can ever trust him again, but I'm terrified of facing the future alone. Any advice or support would be greatly appreciated. I feel lost and could use some outside perspective on this whole mess. Update 1. It's been 3 months since my last post, and I wanted to give an update on my situation. First, I want to thank everyone for their kind words and advice. Your support has been a lifeline during this difficult time. After much consideration, I decided to go ahead with the divorce. I hired a reputable lawyer who specializes in high-conflict divorces. It was expensive, but given Jake's legal background and attempts to manipulate the situation, I knew I needed someone who could match his tactics. The past few months have been a whirlwind of legal proceedings, emotional upheavals, and personal growth. Jake, as I feared, didn't make things easy. He continued to push the narrative that I had been unfaithful, even going so far as to name a specific coworker with whom I'd supposedly had an affair. It was completely fabricated, but Jake was convincing in his accusations. What shocked me the most was that Sarah backed up his story. My former best friend, the person who had been by my side for over a decade, was now actively trying to destroy my reputation to save her own skin. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than I thought possible. My lawyer advised me to stay calm and let the evidence speak for itself. We submitted the text messages I had found, credit card statements showing hotel stays, and even security camera footage from our neighbor's house that showed Sarah coming and going at odd hours when I was away on business trips. The legal battle has been grueling. Jake has used every trick in the book to try and discredit me or hide assets. There have been countless depositions, meetings with financial experts, and court appearances. It's been emotionally and mentally exhausting, but I'm determined to see this through. Through all of this, I've learned some hard truths about my marriage. Looking back, there were red flags I had ignored. Jake had always been controlling with money, insisting on separate accounts and making me account for every penny I spent. I realized now that he had been preparing for this possibility for years. I also discovered that Sarah wasn't the first. There had been other women throughout our marriage. Some were one-night stands, others were longer affairs. Each revelation felt like a fresh betrayal, forcing me to question every moment of our 8 years together. My family has been my rock through all of this. My sister has let me stay with her, providing a safe haven when everything else feels uncertain. My parents have been helping with legal fees and offering emotional support. I don't know what I would have done without their unwavering support. I've also started therapy to deal with the emotional fallout of all this. It's helping me process my feelings and start to rebuild my self-esteem. I realize now how much of myself I had lost in my marriage to Jake. I had become so focused on being the perfect wife that I lost sight of my own needs and desires. Work has been a welcome distraction. I threw myself into my job, using it as an escape from the chaos of my personal life. It paid off. I got a promotion last month, which couldn't have come at a better time given the mounting legal fees. My coworkers have been understanding and supportive, especially after Jake tried to drag one of them into his false narrative. As for Sarah, I haven't spoken to her since that day I caught them together. She's tried to reach out a few times, leaving tearful voicemails and sending long emails full of apologies and explanations. I'm not ready to hear her excuses. The trust we built over years of friendship has been shattered, and I'm not sure it can ever be repaired. The divorce proceedings are still ongoing. Jake is fighting tooth and nail to keep everything. He's trying to argue that his successful career entitles him to a larger share of our assets, conveniently forgetting how my support allowed him to focus on his career while I balanced work and managing our household. But my lawyer is confident that we have a strong case. It's just a matter of time and perseverance. We've uncovered evidence of Jake hiding assets, which has strengthened our position considerably. I'm taking it one day at a time. Some days are better than others. There are still moments when I miss the life I thought I had, the future I had planned. The idea of starting over in my 30s is daunting, but I'm slowly starting to see it as an opportunity rather than a setback. I'm rediscovering parts of myself that I had neglected during my marriage. I've started painting again, a hobby I had given up when Jake complained about the mess and the time it took away from him. I'm reconnecting with old friends who had drifted away during my marriage, rebuilding a support network that doesn't revolve around Jake or Sarah. The road ahead is still long and uncertain, but I'm feeling stronger every day. I'm no longer the broken, betrayed woman I was 3 months ago. I'm fighting for myself, for the life and future I deserve. It's not the future I had planned, but I'm starting to believe it might be even better. Thank you again for all your support. It means more than you know. I'll update again when the divorce is finalized. Wish me luck. Update 2. It's been another 6 months since my last update, and I'm finally able to say that the divorce is finalized. The journey to get here has been long and arduous, but I'm proud to say that I've come out the other side stronger and wiser. The turning point in our legal battle came when we discovered hidden accounts Jake had been using to funnel money away from our marital assets. My lawyer was able to trace these accounts and prove that Jake had been planning this deception for years. This discovery shifted the entire case in my favor, exposing Jake's attempts to manipulate the divorce proceedings. The judge was not impressed with Jake's underhanded tactics or his false accusations against me. In the end, I was awarded half of everything, including the house and Jake's retirement accounts. It felt like vindication after months of fighting against his lies and manipulations. The day the divorce was finalized was a mix of emotions. While I felt relieved that it was over, it also felt like the final nail in the coffin of my marriage. 8 years of my life, gone. But as I sat in the courtroom, listening to the judge make her final ruling, I realized that I was closing a chapter of my life that had become toxic and opening the door to new possibilities. In the weeks since the divorce was finalized, I've been focused on rebuilding my life. I've moved into a new apartment in a different part of the city. It's smaller than the house Jake and I shared, but it's all mine. I'm slowly making it feel like home, filling it with things that make me happy and reflect who I am now, not who I was trying to be in my marriage. It's the first time in my adult life that I've lived alone, and while it was scary at first, I'm starting to enjoy my independence. I can decorate how I want, cook what I like, and spend my free time pursuing my own interests without having to consider anyone else's preferences or schedule. Work continues to be a positive aspect of my life. The promotion I received during the divorce proceedings has opened up new opportunities for me. I'm traveling more for work, which has been a great way to get out of my own head and focus on something positive. I'm building new professional relationships and rediscovering my passion for my career. I've also started dating again, very casually. It's been strange and a little scary to put myself out there, but it's also been nice to be reminded that there are good men out there. I'm in no rush to get into another serious relationship, though. For now, I'm focusing on myself and healing from the trauma of my marriage and divorce. Therapy has been invaluable throughout this process. It's helped me work through my trust issues and start to rebuild my self-esteem. I'm learning to love myself again, which is something I realize now I had lost sight of during my marriage. I'm also working on setting healthy boundaries and recognizing red flags in relationships, skills I wish I had developed earlier. As for Jake and Sarah, I've heard through mutual friends that they're still together. It hurts to think about, but I'm trying to let go of that anger. It's not serving me anymore. I've realized that their actions say more about them than they do about me. I deserve better, and I'm no longer willing to let their betrayal define me or my future. Looking back on this whole experience, I can see how much I've grown. While I wouldn't wish this pain on anyone, I'm proud of how I've handled it. I stood up for myself, fought for what was rightfully mine, and came out stronger on the other side. I've learned valuable lessons about self-worth, the importance of maintaining my own identity in a relationship, and the power of perseverance. I've also learned who my true friends are, the ones who stood by me during this difficult time and supported me unconditionally. To anyone going through something similar, know that it does get better. It's not easy, and there will be days when you want to give up, but you're stronger than you know. Surround yourself with people who support you. Get professional help if you need it, and never be afraid to stand up for yourself. I'm still healing, still processing everything that's happened. There are days when the pain and anger resurface, but they're becoming less frequent. I'm learning to be kind to myself, to allow myself to feel whatever emotions come up without judgment. As for me, I'm looking forward to this new chapter in my life. For the first time in a long time, I'm excited about the future and all the possibilities it holds. I'm rediscovering old passions and exploring new ones. I'm rebuilding relationships with friends and family that had been neglected during my marriage. I'm also considering a career change, possibly going back to school to pursue a long-held dream of mine. It's scary to think about starting over in that way, but also exhilarating. I feel like I have a blank canvas in front of me, and I get to choose how to fill it. This experience has taught me that I'm resilient, capable, and worthy of love and respect. While the journey has been difficult, I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned and the strength I've discovered within myself. I'm no longer the woman who was betrayed by her husband and best friend. I'm a survivor, a fighter, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. To those who supported me through this ordeal, thank you. Your kindness and encouragement have meant more than you know. And to those who might be facing similar challenges, remember that you're not alone. There's light at the end of the tunnel, even if you can't see it right now. As I close this chapter of my life, I'm filled with hope. Hope for new adventures, new relationships, and a life lived on my own terms. It's not the path I expected to be on at 33, but I'm embracing it with open arms. Thank you all for being a part of this journey with me. Your support and advice have been invaluable. Here's to new beginnings and the strength we find in overcoming life's challenges.